Hello, I'm Dr. Kim Doramo and welcome to MindBody TV. This is our Back to Basics summer series where I am pre-recording this series because we'll be traveling over the summer. I'll be with my kids during that time block. And I wanted to go over the tools in my best-selling book, The MindBody Toolkit, and bring people a really strong foundation for self-healing, for your creative power, and for what MindBody medicine really is, including a lot of the science and the history and the foundation of why this is such a powerful practice. If you aren't familiar with me or my work, I am a physician. I was originally trained and board certified as an emergency medicine physician. I'm now sharing about how the body heals itself. And most of the people I work with have had severe chronic illness, in some cases life-threatening, in most cases told there's nothing we could do, that you'll have this forever, that you'll always need to be on medication, or that your situation won't improve. And I have found as a physician that that is not the case, that the body is self-healing and self-generating, and we can activate that to allow disease to resolve. Virtually any disease known to man, the source consciousness that created you is still coursing through you right now. And when we remove the blocks to healing, we can actually see profound changes that defy what most physicians seem to think is possible. And so in the beginning of the book, I go over a lot of the premise of MindBody Medicine, and I wanted to take this broadcast to go over that and why this is so powerful, how you can tap into that wealth of creative power within you, healing power within you, and begin to live in a much higher and more resourced way. So today we're going to talk about really what is MindBody Medicine, what is the premise for this work, and how do we begin to activate this within ourselves. The first piece about MindBody Medicine is there's really these three foundational premises. And when I studied osteopathic medicine, they incorporated a fourth one to help really understand what the foundation of rational medicine should be. And so the first premise is that the mind and body are in fact connected. Now, over 100 years ago, when osteopathic medicine was first founded by an MD physician who realized, wow, a lot of the things I'm doing are actually toxic. A lot of the medicines I'm giving are killing people. And a lot of the things I'm treating aren't getting better. What's going on? And began to ask questions from a much higher place. He realized the mind and body are in fact connected, not separate. And that all parts within our body are in fact communicating with each other. They are interconnected, not separate, as was previously thought and was taught in the medical system. So that's sort of the first major foundation. And when we understand that, we really get a whole lot more possibility in the system. Understanding that if you have a neurological problem, it's not really just what's going on in your nervous system. If you have an autoimmune disease, it's not really just about your immune system. That the gut and the cardiovascular system and the brain and everything in your body is actually involved with everything else that's going on. And we sometimes really need to look beyond just the specific illness in order to really find the true source. The second piece is that the body is self-healing and self-regulating. It actually does have the capacity to heal itself, and it is in fact constantly doing that. The reason we will have diseases that are not resolving, no matter what we do, is that there are obstacles in the way to that health flowing through the body. When we understand that the body heals itself, we have a very different approach to disease and a different approach to symptoms than we would if we completely neglect that and think your body's broken, I need to fix it. You have this disease, it happened to you, we need to fight it. This is a very limited way of thinking because it's not aligned with your true nature. The third premise is as within, so without, meaning your thoughts, your emotions, your perspectives are going to create your physical body. And now over the last 100+ years, with these three premises already established, we have massive amounts of foundational science showing exactly that. In fact, we see that the molecules of emotion, for example, anger or fear, are spread throughout the body and have a direct impact on every single cell. It's not just a thought, it's actually a thing. It's a chemical, physiological phenomenon, a reaction in the body, and a signal that gets transmitted beyond just your brain and nervous system, but throughout every aspect of your body. That affects your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your breasts, your genetics, all the way down to your DNA. And then the fourth principle, which I think is really worth noting, because the whole business I created, the American Institute of MindBody Medicine, is really to incorporate this. And that is that rational medicine is founded on these first three principles. Meaning it's not rational to start to just eradicate symptoms or, take out a tumor, but totally neglect the underlying cause of what created that tumor, or treat, using anti-inflammatory medications, but not change the diet to help the body not be so inflamed, or change the nervous system. So we're not in that fight or flight all the time, generating the inflammation for which the medication is then needed, right? It's like rational medical treatment is based on these three principles. We'd just be shooting ourselves in the foot if we don't consider these three truths, because then we're working against our nature. We're thinking, oh no, your body's broken, let me fix it, let me do these things, which most of them have really sometimes lethal, really severe and sometimes lethal side effects. We don't want to just be irrational and not consider this truth. And so that's the fourth premise of osteopathic medicine, and really the major reason why I founded the American Institute of MindBody Medicine is because when we understand this, when we're educated, when we have a true conscious medical system, we can evaluate the body in a whole different way to really understand how it works, to really understand what's going on when there's disease or symptoms or lethargy and fatigue or fill in the blank, to look at how do we really approach this to bring the body into health, and then to really look at the whole myriad of everything that's been created that is at our disposal, right? Do we use medications and pharmaceuticals? Do we use surgical? Do we use changes in the diet? Do we use homeopathics? Do we use herbals? Do we use blah, 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 right? We've got to look at all of it. When we make some of it wrong, some of it right, oh, only these things are the real medicine. Oh, these are the bad thing. That's just judgment and conclusion. The rational medical treatment, conscious medicine, has to be receptive, has to be open-minded in order to clearly see what will truly be of value, what will really nurture this body back into health, what will remove the obstacles to health so that health can flow through the body and repair this disease process. So when we're not in that awareness, we're just in conclusion. Well, we know that you can't do this and that this is going to be forever. And you know that if you have MS, it's just going to get worse, which actually has panned out not to be true at all. In fact, just yesterday, I got an awesome text from a woman who I interviewed in our MindBody Miracle series in May, Nancy, and she shared with me the findings. She had a really severe eye disease. They told her this will be lifelong. There's no way this is gonna be repaired. And it was years and years of really severe suffering. She couldn't read, she couldn't do her art, she couldn't do activities she liked, and she was constantly having very, very dry eyes, which might just sound annoying, but it was actually painful. Seeing multiple eye doctors over a very significant period of time. After she's done this work, and she was in the Embracing Health program for a year, she began having resolution of her symptoms. Her doctor said, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. And her symptoms resolved. She's reading, she's doing art. She does amazing art, by the way, and reported an amazing resolution. Yesterday, she sent me a message that they have now had photos documenting the regeneration of these glands in the eyelid, which are the glands that secrete the oils that keep your eye lubricated. They had told her, you you have hardly any left. They've all been destroyed through some autoimmune process. They're not going to grow back, and we just have to treat them, with medications. But that wasn't the case. In fact, her body did regenerate those meibomian glands, and they have photos of them where they can see these glands have now proliferated. There's lots of health, and the glands are now there and functioning normally. And I thought it was a great medical miracle, because you think like, well, that can't happen. Actually, that's not even true. It can. So the body is in fact regenerative, and we see evidence of it all the time. There's a lot of science, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today, that shows how this works. Okay, so if your mind affects your body and your body is actually self-healing, I wonder what's possible. What we found is many of the thoughts we're constantly having, moment to moment, day to day, over and over and over, are subconscious. We're not aware of what they are. We're not aware of the negativity of them, and we're not aware of the harmful, destructive impact they have on the body. We can be, right? But most of us are not really that tuned in to what's happening within our body. What we will become aware of, however, is the outcomes of that. Pain, disease, fatigue, dry eyes. It could fill in the blank with like 100 different things that people can have, which is like, I don't even know. Is this a real disease? Is it, people sometimes say, is it just in my head? It's not just in your head. It physicalizes in the body. And what we've seen in the study of psychoneuroimmunology, psycho meaning the way we think, the beliefs and the perspectives we hold, neuro meaning the neurologic transmissions, and immunology meaning your entire immune system, which is everywhere throughout your entire body. They are connected. So every thought you have will spur a certain quality of chemical reactions in the body, neurologic transmissions in the body, and affect every system. It's actually not just the immune system, it's every system throughout the body, either moving you toward health or moving you toward illness. And over time, in fact, those transmissions, again, most of them are unconscious, will manifest as physical disease. And so you might not be aware of all of these inner workings of the unconscious in the psychoneuroimmunologic system, but you will sooner or later become aware of the outcomes. And so you're like, I have no idea what's going on. Certainly this is not anything I'm thinking, right? Because again, it's subconscious. It's not your conscious thoughts. You're not going to be aware of it. And so I've treated a lot of people with, like, for example, severe pain syndromes. And they'll say, no, none of this has any psychology. This is not my mind. I'm 100% sure this is only physical. Now, I'm not saying it's not physical, because it 100% is. If we were to take that tissue and do a biopsy and look at it under the microscope, we would see inflammatory changes. We would see destructive changes. We would see neurologic changes that, in fact, are showing you have this pain syndrome, and it's a physical thing. But that doesn't mean it's not created by these psychoneuroimmunologic processes that are affecting your body and having it be in that destructive pattern, in that illness pattern. In fact, a lot of scientific studies and medical studies have shown this to be the most powerful influence on the physical health in your body. So you may be in that downstream outcome of like, no, this is a physical thing, but it doesn't mean it's just a physical thing, and it doesn't mean it's primarily a physical thing. So I've seen people shift their thoughts, shift their inner processes, shift their unconscious patterns, which is exactly what the work I've created is set up to do, and have major, substantial, and sometimes very, very fast changes in their physical health. Your cells are listening, and every thought you have is creating an impact, either toward health, energy, vitality, or toward disease. And I wrote this to put those exercises in place that you can do anytime, anywhere to activate this, right? It's not just an idea. It's not just a theory. It's not just really good science. There are tools that we can use that can activate this process of healing in the body right now, that can activate the resolution of the obstacles to health right here, right now. And you don't even have to get conscious of like, was it that thing that happened when I was 5 and there's this unconscious trauma and my body's clamped down, white knuckling in fight or flight as a result of this thing? Or what are the emotions involved? You don't even need to do that. In fact, most people, that's not part of the process at all, because this can shift so quickly, and it can shift without you needing to like micromanage your physiology. And so these tools, and we'll be talking about them all over the course of the summer series, not all of them, but I've picked out a specific few that we'll be talking about through this summer series. So it's a 6-week series, and you'll want to, they're all recorded so you can do them in your own time, but you'll want to delve in because this will build. Each segment we do this summer over the next 6 weeks is going to build on the previous. You can jump in at any time, but this one that we're sharing today is really a strong foundation for like, what is this? Why does this work? And I think it's something you can share with most anyone, and they'd begin to understand from a physician who studied this for many, many, many years, decades, who has herself healed from a very severe autoimmune condition doctors told me would be lifelong, and has assisted thousands of others in doing the same. Nancy is not an outlier, but this is a really solid foundation of medicine and science that shows the mind and body are connected. The body is self-healing, and we are creating in every moment, as within, so without. And so you can pick up your copy of the book. I do also have programs that assist you in going deeper, like what Nancy did in the Embracing Health program. We start that every June live with the group, but there are DIY versions of that where we've taken nuggets of it and put it into a home study program. We actually can resolve this at the root cause, meaning your system is no longer sending those subconscious inflammatory disease signals. And I'm excited for new people coming into the community to have a real understanding of how powerful you are, how creative your system is, and just what can really happen when you allow a surrender. And all of the programs, the DIY home study programs, have really great audios in them to help get you out of the old programming of fight or flight, inflammation, sending those toxic signals, and actually turn that off. And so in the audios that I have in all of my programs, that is what it's doing for your system. It isn't rocket science. It is mind-body science. And I'm so grateful to be able to share this with you. So we'll be here live every week on Wednesday at 11 a.m. for this summer series. I'll be sharing more and more tools as we go through, and stay tuned for just a few more moments because I'll share an initiation tool you can get started with this week to activate healing within yourself. And I'll be here in the background somewhere to check in, to say hi, to read your comments. My team is always standing by for questions, so definitely share where you're tuning in from, what questions you have, what comes up for you when you learn this. Does it sound really strange? Does it sound like, oh yeah, I've kind of always already known that to be true somewhere deep within myself, right? Because we actually are connected with our nature. I'd love to hear from you on that. Okay, so what can we activate this week? The most basic way to allow a major reprogramming in your nervous system, in your physiology, in your unconscious is simply take a deep breath. Bring your shoulders up, bring some tension into your neck, your face, your shoulders, and then exhale and relax those areas. This sends a really powerful signal to your nervous system, getting you out of fight or flight and back into the relaxation response, which is the healing ignition in your nervous system. It allows your breath to come more deeply into the lower lungs. So you're really doing belly breathing, even if it's just 2% more. Now that you release the tension in the neck, in the shoulders, in the upper body, the breath will come more fluidly. What happens is the diaphragm muscle, your primary muscle of respiration, is going to come. It's like a dome. When you inhale, it flattens and it descends, right? So that's why your belly will pooch out. If you relax your belly, you relax your shoulders, that diaphragm is going to push down and your belly is going to sort of start to round out just a little bit. That's healthy. So just let your belly relax, let your pelvis relax. As you inhale, it will actually contract and descend. More breath will come not only in the upper lung fields, but in the lower lung fields. And you're sending your nervous system a really powerful response to get out of fight or flight, white knuckling, tension, clamping down, small focused thinking, unable to see the big picture. And you're triggering the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response, which has been shown in thousands of ways to be profoundly healing for your body. So even just this one simple exercise, when you feel stressed, when you feel tension, when you start thinking, I don't have enough time, or this won't work for me, you can reverse that. That's just the programming. So tense your shoulders up, inhale, tense your face. Exhale, just relax that. You may immediately feel the breath come more fully into the belly. Feel the belly expand out with the inhale. And let's do it one more time because 3 times is a charm. So inhale, clench your face, clench your neck, tighten those shoulders, bring them up to your ears. And then make a noise. Exhale, let your shoulders drop. Let your neck relax, and then just notice what's happening in your breath. Take 3 deep breaths here in this still space of 2% more peace and relaxation. No matter what's going on in your life, you always have time for a pause, for 3 breaths. Even if you're driving, talking to your kids, in the middle of dealing with something, try this. It will break the pattern of that old nervous system telling you you're not safe, you're threatened, you've got to clamp down, you've got to stay in fight or flight. And actually allow a pause to consider and invite something new. Wait a minute, what's actually true here? What if I lived in a space of well-being? What would get created then? Practice this week. I would love to hear how this goes for you in the MindBody community. I will see you next week at 11 a.m. Mountain Time on Wednesday, virtually, because I'm filming this summer series prior to doing our vacation. I'll be pre-recording all of them, but I will be tuning in live to check in during the broadcast. I'll just be with my kids and doing our summer and enjoying a vacation together. So I will be practicing this myself, and I invite you to do the same. And let's look at what's possible after this series of 6 weeks and who we become at that time. All right, I love you guys. Thank you so much.